Saint Philip and Saint James were apostles of Jesus. Saint Philip was of Bethsaida, in Galilee, and was called by Jesus to follow him the day after Saint Peter and Saint Andrew. He was at that time a married man, and had several daughters, but being married did not deter him, as Saint Chrysostom noted, from meditating continually on the law and the prophets. In obedience to Christ's command, he left all to follow him and became the inseparable companion of the Lord's ministry and labors. Philip told his friend Nathanael of Jesus, saying to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, that is, the Messiah. Jesus, the son of Joseph, of Nazareth." The marriage at Cana of Galilee, to which Jesus and his disciples were invited, Saint Philip was present at it with the rest. Philip was appointed one of the 12 apostles. When Jesus was about to feed 5,000 people, who had followed him into the wilderness, for the trial of this apostle's faith, Jesus proposed to him the difficulty of feeding the multitudes. During the talk Jesus gave his disciples after the Last Supper, Saint Philip cried out, "Lord, show us the Father, and it is enough for us." Jesus responded, "So long a time have I been with you, and have you not known me? I am in the Father, and the Father is in me." After Pentecost, Saint Philip preached the gospel in the two Phrygias, modern-day Turkey. Saint Philip must have lived to a very advanced age. He was buried at Hierapolis, in Phrygia. His body is said to be in the church of Saints Philip and James, in Rome, which was dedicated in 560 AD. He is the patron saint of hatters and pastry chefs. Saint Philip, in the Bible's book of Acts, chapter 8, was told by an angel to go to Gaza, to a man of Ethiopia, who was an eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship. The eunuch was in his chariot reading Isaiah the prophet. Philip began to explain to him about Jesus and the fulfillment of the scriptures. The eunuch then asked to be baptized. Philip said, "If you believe with all your heart, you may." And he answered and said, "I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God." Philip then baptized him. The Spirit of the Lord suddenly took Philip away, and the eunuch didn't see him, but he went on his way rejoicing. Saint James, the son of Zebedee, was called the Less, to distinguish him from the other apostle James. He was known as the Less either from his short height or from his youth. He is also known by the title of James the Just, due to his sanctity. A cousin of Jesus, he was the son of Alphaeus and Mary, the sister of the Blessed Virgin, and seems to have been born some years before our Lord. Jesus came with his brethren, and probably Saint James among the rest, to settle in Capharnaum, at the beginning of his ministry. James and his brother Jude were called to the apostleship in the 2nd year of Christ's preaching, soon after the Pasch, in the year 31. He became the first bishop of Jerusalem. As a mark of his episcopal authority, and as a sign of his office, he wore on his head a plate of gold, as did Saint John. This was an imitation of the Jewish high priest. He was always a virgin, and was a Nazarite, or one consecrated to God. James prostrated so much in prayer, that the skin of his knees and forehead was hardened like to camel's hoofs. James had the privilege of entering into the Holy of Holies, that part of the temple where none but the priests were allowed by the law to enter. In the year 51, he assisted at the Council of the Apostles, held at Jerusalem, about the observance of circumcision, and the other legal ceremonies of the law of Moses. This apostle was bishop of a church, which mainly consisted of Jewish converts. He is the author of the Bible's Epistle of James, which he wrote in Greek. In it he stressed that faith alone was not sufficient for justification without good works. Without good works, he wrote, our faith is dead. Ananias, the high priest, son of the famous Ananias mentioned in the Gospels, having assembled the Sanhedrim, or Great Council of the Jews, summoned Saint James and others before it. Josephus, the Jewish historian, says that Saint James was accused of violating the laws, and delivered to the people to be stoned to death. Saint James declared his belief in Jesus Christ, after the most solemn and public manner. For he cried out aloud from the battlements, in the hearing of a great multitude, which was then at Jerusalem on account of the Passover, that Jesus, the Son of Man, was seated at the right hand of the sovereign majesty, and would come in the clouds of heaven to judge the world. The scribes and Pharisees, enraged at this testimony on behalf of Jesus, cried out, the just man also hath erred. And going up to the battlements of the temple, they threw him headlong down to the ground, saying, "He must be stoned." Saint James, though very much bruised by his fall, had strength enough to get upon his knees, and lifting his eyes to heaven, begged God to pardon his murderers, seeing that they knew not what they did. He was showered with stones, and then a fuller gave him a blow on the head with his club, after which he died. This happened at the festival of the Pasch, the 10th of April, in the year 62. He was buried near the temple, in the place in which he was martyred, where a small column was erected. His relics are said to have been brought to Constantinople about the year 572. His body is now said to be in the Church of Saints Philip and James, in Rome. He is the patron saint of apothecaries, druggists, dyeing people, fullers, hatmakers, hatters, milliners, and pharmacists. The feast day of Saints Philip and James is May 2nd.
Please subscribe to Catholic News World's YouTube channel. Thanks and God bless.